Welcome to Flow. Let's get started. Today we'll start off in a kneeling position. Bring your hands to rest on your knees or your thighs. Allow your eyes to close or find a soft gaze. And take these first few moments to tune into your breath, any physical sensations you may be feeling in your body. In this session today, we're going to be focusing a lot on foot and ankle strength and mobility. Take one more breath in this position, and then start to shift your hands forward, and then tuck your toes under. So right away, we're getting into a pretty deep foot and toe stretch. Now for this one, if it's feeling a little too intense for your feet, you can keep your hands slightly forward. I always have to tuck my pinky toe, so it's also with the other toes. If you're feeling like you're able to bring your body upright, try to arrive there so your shoulders are right over your hip bones. And you feel this nice stretch. It could be pretty intense into your toes and into the bottom of your feet. The more weight you allow on your hips, the bigger the stretch will be. We'll take a few moments to breathe here. Again, if it's feeling too intense, lessen the weight that you have on your feet and just bring your hands slightly forward. Take a few more moments of breath. Just slowly come out of this. So start to bring your hands back down to the mat, and we'll move to downward facing dog. In this downward facing dog, start off by finding some movement. You can pedal through your feet, find a nice little stretch into your calves, or maybe some movement into your feet and your toes. You can take a little bit longer on each side. Just really feel that nice stretch and opening. And then move into a more neutral position. So energize your heels down to the mat, spread your fingers nice and wide. Lift your heels up high. Keep your heels lifted as you bend your knees. Re-extend your knees, and then with control, lower your heels. And we'll do that again. Lift your heels up high. Keep the heels lifted, bend through your knees. Straighten through your knees, and then lower your heels. And again, just like that, lift your heels up high. Keep the heels lifted, bend through your knees, extend through your legs, and lower your heels. 2 more times just like that, getting nice and warm through the ankles and the feet. Lift your heels up high, bend your knees, extend your knees, and with control, soften your heels down to the mat. One more go around here, lift your heels high, bend your knees, lengthen through your knees, and then lower your heels. Start to walk your feet up towards your fingers and move into a ragdoll forward fold. We'll do another little ankle warm-up from your forward fold. Bend into your knees a lot and lift your heels as high as you can up off the ground. Keep your heels lifted, lower your hips to your heels, and then re-extend through your knees, and with control, lower your heels to the ground. We take this a few times. Lift your heels up high. Keep the heels lifted, lower your hips. Lift your hips, and then lower your heels. A few more times just like that. Lift your heels up high. Bend your knees. Lift your hips again, and lower your heels. Just a couple more times. Lift your heels, getting a little more strengthening into the ankles. And still a nice stretch into the bottoms of the feet. Lift your heels, bend your knees. Straighten through your knees and lower your heels with control. Now you're in your ragdoll forward fold, and slowly start to roll yourself up to stand. Think of stacking through your vertebrae as you come all the way up to stand. Your shoulders, your chin, and your gaze will be last to arrive. And once you get to the top, feel free to take a little bit of motion through your shoulders, through your head and your neck. And bring your feet so they're hips width distance and parallel. Bring your hands to your hips or wherever you feel like you can get nice and centered. I'm gonna take 15 rises, heel raises here, releve, however you know this, but we're just gonna do 15 of these. Spread your toes nice and wide. Make sure all of your toes are pointing straight forward so you have no sort of turn out. If this is a little challenging for your balance, find a wall, find a bar, find whatever you need. In these raises, try not to let your heels come crashing down. Imagine that your heels are coming down onto a soft pillow so you have a little bit of control when you lower. And think of going straight up and down. Shift a little more weight forward. And then after your 15, we're gonna move to 1 foot. So for balance, you can use a wall or a piece of furniture. Move onto your left foot, flex your right foot, and we take 10 single leg heel raises or releves. Going up and down. These are gonna feel a little more intense. Again, try to think of bringing your weight slightly forward, shifting your heart space a little more forward over your toes. Flex your right foot a lot so we can get a little bit of activation into the front of your right shin. And then after your 10 releves, you can stay at your wall to find a little more balance and support, or you can come back to the center of your space. Stand on 1 foot, left foot down, right knee up. And then from here, step your right foot far back into a low lunge position. And then bring yourself up. Now, when you lift your knee up, option to lift your bottom heel, your left heel up off the ground. Try a little bit of a releve. That's just an option. We're gonna take 10 of these. For me, I find it's a little more natural to find swinging arms. That's completely up to you. Maybe your hands are on your hips or your hands could be at heart center. And if you're using a wall, you can really try to lift up onto the releve of your left foot. It's a balance exercise, it's an ankle strengthening exercise. Feel the crown of your head right on top of your left foot. 10 of these total. Find that moment of balance, nice and tall. And after your last one, bring your right foot down, take a moment just to shake that out. Kind of jog it out. Reach your arms up overhead, and then exhale, forward fold, bring your body all the way down. Step your feet back to a plank position. This is a little bit of a funky exercise. Take your right big toe and second toe and hook it onto your left Achilles. It's gonna feel a little strange. Then using a bit of pressure from your right toes, bring your hips up into a downward facing dog and energize your left heel down to the mat. We're gonna take about 5 big breaths here. You may be feeling a bit more of an intense stretch into your left Achilles, left calf. Breathe into that space. Continue to push down with your right toes. I know it feels a little funky with that hook of the right toes. Take a few more big breaths here. And then release your right foot. Walk your feet up once again to your forward fold. We'll take this strengthening exercise again in your forward fold. Soften through your knees, lift your heels up high. Bend your knees, bring your hips to your heels. Re-straighten through your knees, hips up, and lower your heels down to the mat. Again, lift your heels, bend your knees, lift your hips, and lower. About 3 more, just like this. Lift your heels, come into that tiny little ball shape, lift your hips, and lower. Lift, bend your knees, hips down. Make sure that you're really spreading through your toes. Feeling some nice activation. Notice that your heels are not kind of rolling in. They're in the center of your foot. And after your last one, roll yourself all the way up to stand. Stack through the vertebrae, shoulders, chin, and gaze are last. We take 15 releves. Bring your feet so they're about hips width distance apart. You can bring your hands to your hips or anywhere it feels where your arms can be centering. Start to lift and lower your heels. Think of going straight up as though you're moving between 2 panes of glass. And think of the way that your bones are stacking. Your skull right over your shoulders, right over your hips, right over your ankles. Allow your toes to spread out nice and wide. And when you lower your heels, lower with control. And if you need to use a wall or some sort of support for balance, feel free to take that. After you've done your 15, we're gonna take our releves, our one-legged heel lifts on the opposite side. So if you would like to walk over to a wall or something supportive, feel free to do that. Keep your right foot down and flex your left foot up and do 10 heel raises here. Again, think of going straight up and down, skull right over ankle. And as you lower your right heel, really try to lower with control. And at the same time, flex your left toes up a lot so you get some activation into the front of your left shin. 10 of these total. Maybe notice if one side was a little more challenging than the opposite side. After you've done your 10 heel lifts, we're gonna move into that lunging balance work. So you could stay at your surface, or you can move yourself back to the center of your space. Pull your left knee up, and then step your left foot far back behind you into your lunge. We'll take 10 of these total. If you would like to add in a heel raise on your right side, feel free to try to add that in. It's a little bit tricky, especially for the balance, and maybe feeling a bit of fatigue through your right calf, your right ankle. But this is all what the strengthening work is. You want to feel rock solid into your ankle, your foundation, your feet. And if you fall over, fall off to the side, that's okay. This is meant to be challenging. This is meant to be a challenging exercise to really strengthen through your ankle, but also find some stability through your core and through your glutes. Take a few more of these here. And then after your last one, step your left foot down. And take a few moments just to jog out through your feet. Just kind of shake them off, shake through your head, whatever you need. And then bring your hands back down to the mat. Step your feet into a high plank position. We're gonna take that stretch on the opposite side. So take your left big toe and second toe, hook it around your right Achilles, and then push your hips up. Simultaneously, think of using your left toes to bring your right heel further down towards the mat. This is just going to get a bit of a deeper stretch into the right calf and right Achilles. Breathe into that space, breathe into that length. We'll take about 5 big breaths total here. See if you can continually increase the pressure with your left toe. And feel a little bit longer through the back of your right leg. Release your left foot. Lower your knees down to the mat. We're gonna come into some deeper stretching from here. Lower your knees down to the mat and then step your left foot so it comes slightly in front. Coming into this little crouch position. We're gonna move forwards and backwards with this one. So move yourself forward, so this nice little stretch into your left Achilles and into your calf. And just breathe here. Maybe find a little bit of wiggle with your hips. Really think of pushing down with your right shin. And then lower your hips back down to your heel. Walk your hands back behind you. Lift your hips up. Maybe your right knee will come up off the ground. This is just meant to stretch through the front of your right shin. Breathe into that space. And then slowly start to bring yourself out of this, and we'll swap onto the opposite side. Step your right foot forward into this little crouching position. Try to keep your right heel on the ground as you lean your body forward. Now your right heel may lift off a little bit or a lot, but really try to energize your right heel down to the mat so you feel this nice opening into the back of your right Achilles. Spread out through your toes. Try to bring as much weight forward as you can. And then slowly start to walk your hands back behind you. Push down into your right foot and lift your left knee up. So think of really pushing down into the top of your left foot. So again, we're getting that nice opening into the top of your foot, into your left shin. Slowly come out of this. Bring your hands forward. Come to forward fold once again. Soften through your knees. And slowly roll yourself up to stand. Stack through your vertebrae, your shoulders, your chin. Your gaze will be last to arrive. Take a moment maybe to just jog out through your feet, move around through your shoulders and your head. And then find a neutral standing position. Bring your feet about hips width distance. Let your arms be heavy by your side. Maybe allow your eyes to close. Take these final moments to come back inward. Feel your toes spread out into the ground. Notice any differences you may feel in the foot and ankle region. Notice how your foundation supports your entire system. Take one more big breath here. Thank you for joining us. And that's your flow.